Your name should be at the top of this paper. I will tell you tomorrow what page number to put on it. Once we actually get our notebook organized, we're going to ease into it. This paper is to refresh your memory on solving 1- and 2-step equations and how to handle fractions in an equation. We're going to work a few of each, and then the ones left are for you to try and practice. Okay? Look at the top. So we're going to start with the simple 1-step equations. I don't know how you've been taught to handle solving equations. I'm going to show you a technique that I've seen people use who struggle with solving equations. If you don't need this technique, then feel free not to use it. Maybe watch it, try it a few times, and then you may realize you don't need it. You have to look at the equation and find the variable, right? I'm putting a box around the entire term that has the variable. Now you have to visualize to yourself, I need that by itself, which means what's in the way of this side of the equation? Plus 12 is in the way, so it's got to go. Remember the rules in math. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And the way you move that plus 12 is its inverse operation. What's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. I've seen people draw a line down the equal sign so they can compartmentalize their right and their left of their equation so that when they go and say, okay, I'm going to subtract 12 here, then now they know I have to come over here and do the same thing or it won't be balanced, right? And then, of course, we end up with m equals 10 minus 12 is negative 2. Kind of, like I said, it's a review, refresher, easing back into it. You do number 2. We need g by itself. What's in the way? Negative 9, minus 9. What's the opposite of minus 9? Add 9 to itself to make it cancel, but go to the other side and balance it out. Then you just, in your head or in your calculator, negative 2 plus 9 is 7. Number 3, if you look at it, if I circle the entire term here, then I have nothing left on that side, right? So this is where you have to say to yourself, okay, the goal is to get what by itself? The y. Negative 7 is attached. How's it attached? It's attached by multiplication, so you're going to move it by division. So come underneath, divide. Go to the other side, come underneath, divide, and then go to your calculator. Negative 91 divided by negative 7 is 13. Number 4 looks weird at first, but don't overthink it. You have your variable divided by 9, and we need the variable by itself, so what's the opposite of dividing by 9? Multiplying by 9. So we're going to multiply by 9, then you got to come over here and do it, right? And you get what? 36. Thank you. Negative 36. All right, what if you have like a full-blown fraction in your 1-step equation? These are just 1 step. So to get rid of a fraction, I want you to learn the technique of multiplying by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means 2 parts. Flip, flipped, fraction, one part. Flip the fraction. Keep the sign. Whatever the sign is, it stays the same, but you're going to flip the fraction. So like the reciprocal of, say, 3/5 would be 5/3, for example. Okay? What this does is it takes a two-step equation and brings it to just a one-step, and then your answer, you get to the answer faster. So if you look at number 5, you have 2/3 x equals 10. This means, don't write this, just look and understand the concept. This means 2 times x divided by 3 equals 10, right? Which means I got to do the opposite of divide by 3. There's 1. Then I've got to do the opposite of times 2. There's 2 steps. I don't want to go that route. That's thinking harder, not smarter. Let's go this route. Look at it. This whole fraction is attached by multiplication, right? Yes? Okay, so I'm going to divide it, right? Do you remember how you divide fractions? Close. Do you remember back in middle school or 9th grade where you learned that when you're dividing fractions, you never actually divide? Keep, change, flip. Remember that? When you're dividing fractions, you never actually divide anything. You keep the first stuff alone, change it to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. So when you say, oh, I'm going to divide by 2/3, you're actually multiplying by 3/2. So instead of going through that thought process and having to remember keep, change, flip, enter this technique where you just say, I need to move that. Okay, well, I'm going to move it by multiplying by its reciprocal. Here's why. 3/2 times 2/3 is what? Multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. What's 6 divided by 6? That's a big old fat fancy 1. You see it now? Which means it disappears. So I'm going to erase that. So these cancel out. Now you come over here and you multiply by the same thing. Because you end up with 6/6. If you need to show it so that you understand it, right? 6/6x equals, and then this would be 30/2, right? Or you could go to your calculator and you can type 10 times 3 by 2. It's going to spit out the number 30 divided by 2. 15. Y'all see that? 30 divided by 2. I'm just going to write 30 divided by 2. What is 6/6? 1. What's 30/2? 15. You don't have to show that work every time. I want you to show it on just this problem to remind you of this technique. If you've had a teacher in the past go this route, if you've never had a teacher go this route, hi, it's me. I'm going to go this route because it's less work and it's more intuitive. And as you get higher up in the math classes, you need to be doing the more intuitive steps. Now let's do another one, just in case you're like, I still don't understand what she did. Let's do this one. 4/9 times W equals -8. I need the 4/9 to become the number 1. So I would multiply by its reciprocal, 9/4. Because then I would end up with what? 36/36, which is 1, which means it's gone. It's not that it cancels, it's that it becomes the number 1, which is understood to be hidden. Now you got to come over here and do the same thing. And then you type it exactly how you see it. -8 times 9 divide 4. There's 2 ways to type it in your calculator. there's a calculator shortcut that I need you to start learning as of today. And if you forget it, it's on your little shortcut paper. One way to type this in is how you see it. -8 times 9 divided 4. That's one way. I want you to start learning the fraction shortcut because when you use it, you will actually see the fraction, which is really helpful with stuff where we're going down the line. -8 times alpha y equals. That's all you got to remember. Alpha y equals. Notice the very first thing says n over d. Numerator over denominator. And then it actually types it in what's called math print mode, which I love because then you can actually see your fraction. So then you just say 9, arrow down, 4, and you get the same answer. The reason the fraction shortcut is helpful when we get to where parentheses are involved, you don't have to use parentheses with the fraction shortcut. When we get to some more complicated stuff and you type your fraction in like long ways, you have to remember parentheses or you're going to get the wrong answer. So that's why the fraction shortcut is really helpful because you don't have parentheses. So right here I want you to write calc for calculator tip. It's second y equals and it's n over d. And that's how you're going to type fractions in. What do we get? -18? Alright, go to number 7 and 8. Y'all do them and then we'll check it. Do 7 and 8 right now. Some of you, I think, have already finished it, but sometimes the thing disappears. But let me check, because if it did, that's not good. No, it's still recording. No, but do let me know if you think it has done that. Okay. Look. Oh yeah, it's alpha, not second. Sorry. Alpha. There you go. -10 for 7. Get 18 for 8. Looking at number 8, when you come over here and say, okay, I have -1/2 times m equals -9. Negative, when it's written in front of a fraction like that, that means you can put the negative with either the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter, because the whole number is negative, right? You're going to always see me put the negative with the top number just because it feels better to do that. It looks better. It could go with the bottom number. It's up to you. However, you cannot, red means wrong, you cannot put the negative with both of them, because that would actually be negative over a negative is actually a positive, so now you've totally changed the number. So be careful when the negative is in the front. Make sure you understand that it's saying, hey, that's a negative 1/2. Okay, well then I'm going to multiply by a negative 2 over 1. Same concept. It's the reciprocal. It's still negative. You go away. Over here, negative 2 over 1. And you get 18. I want you to start learning how to recognize, I'm going to draw a line, that negative 1/2 m is the same thing as negative m over 2, right? Or m over negative 2. You see how those are the same? All three of those are the same. Negative 1/2 m, negative m over 2, m over negative 2. They all mean the same thing. So just start training your brain to be able to understand, like if you have a fraction and the top number is a 1, then that means we're actually just dealing with that bottom number, right? Okay. We did one step, we did fractions. Now let's look at two-step equations. This is where you really have to remind yourself that you're focusing on getting the variable by itself, but before you can touch the variable, you've got to move away the excess parts before you can get to it. Okay, so boxing in the term with the variable is helpful here, because then it lets you know, okay, I gotta move the 8 first before I can move the 6. There's an order here, right? It's not order of operations. That's when you're simplifying. We're not simplifying, we're solving. There's a difference. So I'm going to move the 8 by undoing it using what? Subtraction. Bring down exactly what you see. 50 minus 8 is 42. And then now we can move the 6. It's attached by multiplication. I'm going to move it by dividing. All right, I'm going to show you a new thing. I want you to write this down. Here's one of the things I loved about math. I loved when I had a problem where I could check my answer. I'm one of those people that needs constant reassurance because I have anxiety. I always feel like I'm doing something wrong because I don't know. I struggled with math when I was in middle school. I had a tutor, and then my tutor made me show every single step, work everything out. I hated it, and then it clicked. And then I started loving it. And now I have a master's in math because I struggled, went through it, understand it now, and I now see where people struggle because I was there. You know what I mean? Look for those types of questions where you can check yourself, because it just takes a second. You don't even have to write anything down. I'm writing it to show you how to do it. You got 7. Go back to the equation. In your calculator, you're going to type 6 times 7 plus 8, and you're going to see if you get 50. And if you do, you did it right. Move on. Look for those little opportunities, or if you got an answer and you're not sure, check it. Okay? All right, number 10. 2n minus 5 equals 11. We've got the term 2n here. We've got to get it by itself before we can actually move the 2. So what's got to go first? The minus 5 is going to go by adding. So we have 2n equals 16. Divide by 2, and you get 8. right, y'all do number 11. And then let's check it. Did you get -1 for 11? So here you should have moved the 9 first, then divided by -4. Thank you. Number 12. Is anyone still working 12? Okay, did you get, what'd you get? -9? Does anyone need to see it worked? One of the things I want you to really get comfortable doing, because I know that it's kind of scary to like to talk out in class sometimes. Some people don't have a problem with it, but others do. I want you to get comfortable to say, hey, Ms. Holcombe, I need you to work that one. Please get comfortable saying that. Is that a medical alert? Blood sugar? Good? Okay. I want you to get comfortable asking for help or telling me, hey, I didn't get that. Can you come look at it or can you work it? Please get comfortable doing that. This is I hate to say safe space because that sounds so elementary, but it really is. Like, I try to create an environment where you can say, Ms. Holcombe, I didn't get that. Can you work that for me? And nobody's going to be like, because we're not going to have that. Because I'm telling you, I was there. I struggled in 6th grade. So I get it. Go to the back. Now it's throwing in some fractions. Let's look at 13. Don't overthink it. Block off the term that has the variable so you'll save it for last. Move the -7, the -7. Move it by what? Adding. Alright, so you got x over 2 equals 16. What's the opposite of divide by 2? Multiply by 2. So we're going to multiply by 2 on both sides. And what do you get? 32. Is for you to try. Let's jump to 15. 15 is slightly different because it's not variable over a number. Now it's 3/5 then the variable. That's still the term we need by itself. We're going to block it off. So I need to move what first? I need to move the 22 by subtraction. Draw that line to help you visualize your right and your left compartments so you don't accidentally subtract 22 from the same side. You don't want to do that. All right, we've got 3/5 x equals 6. Remember the shortcut. Instead of saying divide by 3/5, when you don't, that's actually keep, change, flip. We can just make that become a 1 by multiplying by, what? 5 over 3. 15 then you'll end up with 15 over 15, which is that 1. So come over here, multiply by 5 over 3. See the difference? And you should get 10. Did you get that? $17. Let's try it. I jumped to 17. This is the term we need by itself. So notice I also closed in the plus sign because that goes to the 7 over 4. This minus 10 would move by adding. So we're going to add 10 over here. So we have 7 over 4 p equals negative 28. I need 7 over 4 to become a 1. So I'm going to multiply by 4 over 7. And then whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. Negative 16. I feel like a lot of you kind of already started working these because, like I said, it was a review, a refresher. Here are the answers to these 3. Let's see if you got them right. This one is negative 15. This one is, and this one. Did you get those? Okay. The bottom section, I was going to save that for the beginning of class tomorrow. Still good? Okay. Let me work 19 because it looks like there is one of them on here just in case. Look at 19. Can I go in and box in the entire term?
No.
I need to focus my attention on the x. So you have 2 things in the way. You have a plus 11, and then you have this giant divide 8, right? What do you think has to move first? The 8's got to go first. The 11 is attached into the top of the fraction. That's a giant fraction all over 8. Let's get rid of the fraction. What's the opposite of divide 8? Multiply 8. So if you'll multiply this whole thing by 8, you think, oh, that's going to be really ugly. No, it's not, because it goes away. Then come over here and do it. Now you have that nice numerator, and then equals negative 24. And now it's a 1 step left. Does that make sense? Your practice assignment, I don't want to call it homework because you're going to practice it in flex. Remember, this is like a sport. Your practice assignment is this little maze coming to you right now where you're practicing 1 and 2 step equations. Okay? Did you understand what I did? I look like I might have lost you. Which one? So this one. You see how? So there's the variable, right? So we've got plus 11, and we've got this gigantic divide 8. What you have to do here, since you have this gigantic fraction, is you got to get rid of every time. Look at the difference. This was not a giant fraction. This was just a little fraction. Here you go with some stuff. This is a big fraction. So you can't touch anything up here. That's gone. So the opposite of divide 8, multiply by 8. And that will get rid of that fraction every time. So this is your practice assignment. It's a maze. You start where it says start. You solve it, and then you look at your answer choices, and you go that route, and then repeat. And you should end here. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I am going to look to see who practiced tomorrow. That's gonna be what I'm looking for. Purple sheet signed, practice your maze.